Hi everyone, it's Miss McDowell here for another lesson on dividing whole numbers by decimals. If you saw the screencast, or not, this lesson, I'm sorry, doesn't have a screencast, but I did link the slides just in case you needed those and wanted to work or through some of those word problems on your own. We're going to do two of the ones here together and then one other one that wasn't on that slide set that's a little bit different. And then I'm also going to do for a warm-up one of the retrieval process questions. So this is the first one on the warm-up page. So which choice is shaded to represent the value of the expression 1/2 divided by 4? So what we always tell y'all to do with these is draw what you have. And so if you're thinking about splitting like 1/2 of a cookie between 4 people or 1/2 of a cake between 4 people, only draw what you have. And so we only have 1/2 of something because that's what we're splitting up. And so we can already go ahead and tell ourselves that A and D are not going to be appropriate answer choices because they have more than 1/2. All right, so this one has 4 and this one has 8. And so we already know that those are not going to be appropriate answers because they drew more than what we had. Now we need to look at B and C. Okay, we're looking at the one that represents the answer to the question. And I know this is a little weird because if we were to draw this, the way that we would draw this is we would draw our 1/2. Here's our 1/2 of a cake or like 10 of brownies. And then we would go ahead and split it up into fourths, okay? Or we could even like split our 1/2 horizontally. It doesn't matter which way you draw it. We would split it the opposite way into fourths. Okay, and so we have one that kind of looks like this. It's just flipped the other way, which is C. However, C is kind of that red herring answer. It's the one that it wants to trick us with. The reason C is not the answer is because we are looking for the value of the expression. Okay, and when we think about 1/2 being divided by 4, that is not equivalent to this represents and this represents 4 out of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 are shaded in out of a total of 8. And we know that 1/2 divided by 4 is not 4/8 because that's the same exact equivalency. So our answer here is actually going to be B. Now the way we've represented this or showed you how to represent this in class is actually when we take that, when we draw what we have and shade it in, we actually end up leaving what's shaded instead of like uncovering what was already shaded because that represents our 1/2. And we circle just what like one person would get. So if you have 1/2 of a cake you're sharing between 4 friends, you're really looking for like what just one person would get, and one person would get 1/8, okay? And so B would be our best answer. Another way you could do this, remember, is keep, change, flip. So I can show you that right here. I would keep 1/2 the same, change the division symbol to the inverse. Remember, that's like the opposite. How would you unsolve for division? Multiplication. And then flip the 4 to the reciprocal. Remember, 4 can be equivalent to 4 over 1 because 1 can go into 4 times. And so really this is going to become 1/4. That would be my reciprocal. And then just like multiplying any fraction, top times top, bottom times the bottom. 1 times 1 is 1. And then 2 times 4 is 1/8. So our answer would be 1/8, and B represents 1/8. All right, we're going to move on. That's just a little bit of fraction division review, but we're going to move on to the word problems that you saw in your slides, okay? So the host at a cookout has 2 liters of lemonade. He is serving lemonade in glasses that hold 800 liters. How many glasses of lemonade can he serve? Okay, so we need to think about what we're dividing by what and kind of set up an equation off to the side to then figure out how we're going to solve, okay? So what he wants to do is he wants to split those 2 liters of lemonade up into all these different glasses that hold 800 liters, okay? So our equation would be 2 divided by 800. And right now you kind of have a little trick. Notice it's whole numbers being divided by decimals, so you know we're splitting up that 2 divided by 800, okay? Now when we put this, remember this is our dividend, the number we're dividing into, so it goes into my house. And then the number I'm dividing by is 800. I don't know my facts of 800ths, okay? Like that's kind of hard to think about, and I'm sure a lot of you might not know your facts of 800ths. So what we need to do is make these numbers usable, all right? So 800ths, I can multiply by 10 until I make it a whole number. So what I'm doing is shifting the decimal over. That's my trick. But what I really did there is I was multiplying by, I shifted it over twice. So shifting it over once is times 10. Shifting it over again is times 10 again. So what I'm really doing to 800ths is multiplying by 100. Okay, I can't change the value of this number and not change the value of the number in here. In the whole number 2, your decimal comes right after your whole. All right, and so if I multiplied 800ths times 100 to get 8, or the whole number 8, then I need to multiply 2 times 8, or times 100 to get a different number. So I'm shifting my decimal place twice in the same direction, and what I'm really going to end up with is the equation. How many times can 8 go into 200? Okay, and so this just makes it solvable and is going to give me the exact same answer, okay, because I've multiplied both numbers by the same amount. My trick is shifting my decimal. What I'm actually doing is multiplying by 100, okay, to get my 800ths to a whole. All right, so how many times can 8 go into 2? It can't. You can represent that with a 0 if you want, but you don't have to. How many times can 8 go into 20? 8 can go into 22 times. My 2 goes above the place value that I went into. 2 times 8 is 16. And then I'm going to subtract. I'm left with 4. Okay, I know that 2, my whole number 2 up there, is correct because 4 is less than 8. I was left with less than what I'm dividing by, so I know that 2 is correct. All right, now I'm going to carry down my 0 next to my 4. And then how many times can 8 go into 40? It can go into 40 25 times, okay? So when I'm thinking about 2 being divided by 800ths, it gives us 25, okay? We talked about this last time. A lot of you might be thinking, wait, that's kind of weird because I started with 2 and then I was only dividing by a part, and now I'm stuck with this giant big number. Well, when you think about it, 800ths is really tiny. It's a really small part of a number. And 2, while it's not very big, it's still a whole number, and so there should be a lot of 800ths in the whole number 2, okay? And then also, if you think about it, the context of our question, how many glasses of lemonade can he serve? If he's hosting a cookout, he's not going to be serving only a portion of a glass or only like 2 glasses of lemonade. It makes a lot more sense for him to be serving 25 glasses of lemonade. So then you would need to use your units, 25 glasses. Oh, and then if you wanted to get more context, of lemonade. Okay. All right. So we have the next one that would be in your slides is Leona ran 4 miles on a track that is 5/10 miles long, or 1/2 mile long. How many laps did Leona run on the track? Okay, so we want to know if she's running the track. She ran 4 miles and she just keeps running around the track. We want to know how many times she went around the track. Okay, and so it's going to be 4 divided by our 5/10, okay? Because each lap is 5/10 of a mile, but she ran 4 whole miles. All right, remember, whatever we're dividing into, our dividend, is going to go in our house, and whatever we're dividing by, our divisor, is going to go on the outside. Okay, I don't know my facts of 5/10. They're a little bit easier probably than facts of like 800ths, but I still don't know them. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually shift my decimal place to make this number, my divisor, usable, okay? And so here I only have to shift it once, which means I'm only multiplying by 10, okay? But I can't just multiply my divisor by 10 and not multiply my dividend by 10. So 4 shifted over once, multiplying by 10 is going to give me 40. So now my equation is how many times can the whole number 5 go into 40? Well, 5 can't go into 4. I can represent that with a 0 or just leave it if you can see that. And then how many times can 5 go into 40? Well, I know that 5 times 8 is 40, so 5 can go into 48 times, and I'm left with 0 left over, okay? So she ran 8 laps. All right, I'm actually going to do the next one in a separate video just because it's a little bit of a challenge and I'm probably going to need more space for it. So if you want to see what happens when we don't actually just end up with these nice, beautiful whole numbers, what we do when we get some problems where like we're not actually left with just like it ends up as a nice whole, I'm going to show you that in this one. So if you want to watch the other video, you can.